The first item of business. Do any members have any personal or prejudicial interest to declare? Thank you. Right, so the second of the procedural items is the confirmation of minutes. To confirm the minutes as previously circulated of the meeting held on the 19th of April 2021 as a correct record. Does everybody agree? Please show.
With a second.
Sorry, I have a seconder, I think. I've got you trained now, Richard,
Yes,
thank you.
I'd be delighted to second that proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, all those in favour? Thank you. Anybody against? No, thank you. Right, the Mayor's announcements. On the 4th of May, I had the privilege of being at the opening of the new visitor centre, a lovely attraction for locals and all who come to enjoy the delights of Fairhaven Lake. It was a bit of a cold day, but I'm sure that everybody who appreciated what they have done to make it such an enjoyable place to visit. And hopefully when COVID restrictions are eased a little, all the attractions inside will be there. The interactive ones will be good for the children particularly. On the 17th of May and the 18th of May, along with the Deputy Mayor, we distributed the monies to the charities that had been raised throughout the 2 years that we have been involved. It was to Kilgrimmel Building Fund, One Filed, Blood Bikes and Blood Wise. And I must really give thanks to the Deputy Mayor, Richard, and his wife Sheila for all their help and support throughout those 2 years. I could not have done it without them. So again, thank you. Will you pass on my good wishes to Sheila? Thank you. It isn't a time for speeches now because it is a business meeting, but it is my last one as Mayor. So can I just say thank you to everybody for your support over the last 2 years. It's been much appreciated. Item agenda 4. Chief Executive, do you have any communications to report?
Thank you, Miss. Thank you. Maybe let me in. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's the old system, isn't it? It's wonderful to see everybody back, and thank you for your cooperation today. I know the officers have spent a while setting it all.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Right, so we'll go to agenda item 5, the Constitution Amendments and the terms of reference. And I invite Councillor John Singleton to introduce the item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This agenda item refers to the economic development and regeneration for which the Planning Committee currently has responsibility. At the last Audit and Standards Committee, it was resolved to move this responsibility from Planning to Finance and Democracy Committee, although the Planning will still have an advisory role in respect of the economic development. The Joint Committee, the Blackpool Filed and Wire Economic Prosperity Board, is a strategic forum for economic development issues on the Fylde Coast. It's also a programme board for the Hill House and Blackpool Airport zones, and the board jointly reports progress to our own Finance and Democracy Committee, not the Planning Committee. Currently, our leader represents Fylde on this joint committee. The economic regeneration is so important, so vital to the aid of the recovery of the post-COVID pandemic to this borough. And I propose, via the Audit and Standards Committee, this strategic level should sit within the remit of the Finance and Democracy Committee. And the Planning Committee have an advisory role in respect of economic development and regeneration. The terms of reference for the Planning Committee can be found on today's papers on page 5 at para 5. The new terms of reference for the Finance and Democracy Committee can be found on page 4. That's at para 4. And they are to develop and establish a framework of strategic economic development policies that interface with national, regional and sub-regional economic development initiatives. It was proposed to further amend the proposed wording in regards to the remit of the Finance and Democracy meeting, and the proposed wording was to add, after sub-regional economic initiatives, the wording such as the Economic Prosperity Board. So, Mr. Mayor, I propose a recommendation as outlined on page 3, with the additional wording for Part 2 and Part 3 of the Constitution under the responsibility for functions be approved by this Council. I do have a seconder, Mr. Mayor, in Councillor Harris. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harris?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I second the amendment and reserve my right to speak if needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this item? No? I don't see anybody. Then we'll go straight to the vote. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anybody against? Any abstentions? One abstention. Right, thank you. Right, that is clearly carried. Okay, thank you. We'll go to agenda item 6, the Constitution Amendment Contract Procedure Rules. I invite Councillor John Singleton to introduce the item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you say, item 6 refers to the contracts procedural rules as part of our constitution. And no doubt members who attended the briefing on this subject back in February via the Zoom will remember these rules. There may be other changes from the government, as they've recently issued a green paper, with the potential for further changes coming to the Audit and Standards Committee. However, these are the current changes. On pages 9 to 28, there are changes which have been approved by the Audit and Standards Committee, and these rules, together with the financial regulations, together form the procedural framework for the procurement purposes. Now, without going through all the pages, there are some comments marked in blue at the side of today's papers. The main changes are all the wording appertaining to the European Council directive have been removed. The threshold for small contracts has been raised from 10,000 to 25,000. And the mid-range contracts with a value between 25,000 and 100,000 and large contracts with a value of more than 100,000 remain unchanged. We have added some comments regarding the protection against fraud and collusion, and the request for a quotation is linked to Rule 6, invitation to tender. There is a requirement for the buying officer to contact the procurement officer or the head of governance prior to making the procurement process for contracts over that threshold. There was some discussion, Mr. Mayor, regarding the large exempt contracts and putting a limit on these contracts, but in our opinion it would remove any flexibility the council would have in responding to any emergency that may occur. So the Audit and Standards Committee recommends to council to approve the revised contracts procedure rules as outlined in today's papers. And again, Mr. Mayor, I have a seconder in Councillor Harris. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am happy to second and reserve my right to speak if needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this item? No, cannot see anybody, so we'll go straight to the vote then. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. All those against, please show. Any abstentions? Right, one abstention. Okay. Thank you. That is clearly carried. Thank you. Now to the nice part for agenda item 7, the Mayor and Deputy Mayor. And I invite Councillor Liz Oates to introduce the first resolution. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, councillors, can I thank you and your mayoress and your deputies for all the hard work you put in the last 2 years. As you've already stated, today is not the day for speeches, but I would just like to thank you. I do have a seconder.
Thank you. Councillor Nulty.
Yes, I'm delighted to be able to second that proposition and look forward to the real event on July the 13th. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for all your hard work this last 2 years.
Thank you. Have we anybody who wishes to speak on this item? And we'll go straight to the vote then. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anybody against? No, don't dare. Thank you. That's clearly carried. Thank you. Elaine, you are now the Mayor of Fylde. Thank you. So, congratulations, Mr. Mayor. And could I invite you to propose the second resolution?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can't call you Councillor Jakes. I've got to call you Mr. Mayor. I haven't signed the Declaration of Acceptance yet, so I think I can get away with it. And again, this isn't today the day for the speeches, but I do want to say a huge thank you to you and your team. It's incredible how you've held the fort for 2 years, so thank you. I'm very happy to propose as my Deputy Councillor Cheryl Little for the year 21-22. I'm sure she will take this role on with great gusto and give it her usual energy and enthusiasm. I do have a seconder, and that is Councillor Roger Small.
Thank you. Councillor Small.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm delighted to be able to stand to second that.
Thank you. Right, is there anybody who wishes to speak on this item? Go straight to the vote then. All those in favour, please show. Right. I think that is clearly carried. Unanimous, thank you. Thank you. Right, thank you, councillors. It's been a short meeting, but a very productive one. All the paperwork's been attended to, and it just gives me the pleasure to close this meeting. But before I do, I've been asked to remind you, no mingling, right?
Inside.
Inside. Whatever that may mean. Okay, so just to be on the safe side, so you have been warned. But can I thank you all for attending? Sad in a way that it's my last meeting, because I have enjoyed the last 2 years. But I will look forward to the celebration on July the 13th for Councillor Silverwood as Mayor and Councillor Little as the Deputy. So again, once again, ladies and gentlemen, councillors, thank you for attending and have a good weekend, because it looks as though the sun's going to be shining for a change. Okay, thank you.